Father, Almighty God, we come here as we gather for this special session. May whatever they had taught us today, Father, may it be right through us and for us to understand and pray for all those who have attended this meeting here today. This asking your name, Lord, forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I think that this presentation is fitting given the kind of work that you engage in. So we will start with the first presentation, elderly abuse. All of us have to be informed about it. Okay? What is elderly abuse? Elderly abuse is defined as knowing, intentionally or careless behavior by a caregiver, family member, or any other person that causes harm or serious risk of harm to older persons. Okay? During the presentation, at any point, if you have any questions, you can ask. Okay? We will continue. Type of abuse. We have physical, neglect, abandonment, emotional, self-neglect, sexual, financial exploitation, and spiritual. All these are different ways in which the elderly people are being abused by basically anybody. Okay? So we're going to just go a little bit deeper into it. Physical abuse. Physical abuse is the use of non-accidental physical force that may result in bodily injury, physical pain, or impairment. That is, you caring for an elderly person, okay? And in caring for that person, you may use force in dealing with the person. You may carelessly administer the medication. Okay, you may intimidate them and so on. So these are some of the ways that the abuse can occur. Okay, you can knock, kick, and all those things. Those are the physical aspect of physical abuse. We will talk a little bit more about the physical abuse. Striking with or with an object. Hitting the person. Beating. Pushing and shoving them. Shaking them, slapping them, kicking, pinching, burning. Inappropriate use of drugs and physical restraint, force feeding and physical punishment of any kind also are examples of physical abuse. And sometimes we do that, we do it intentionally, or sometimes we do it not knowing that we are actually doing these things to the people. You know, you may be frustrated or something and then you rough them up, you know, you push them, you quarrel with them, and so on. So all these things are ways that you can abuse the elderly. And I see some people smiling, huh? Neglect. Neglect is another form of elderly abuse. The refusal or failure to fulfill any part of a person's obligation or duties to an older person. You are responsible for that elderly person. You refuse to go and clean them. You refuse to go and visit. All of these things. You just leave them in the house there, close up in the house. When your mind tells you to go across, you go across. Okay? Failure of a person who has guardianship and administrative responsibility to provide care for an older person. Example, for paying necessary home care services. The person's child hire you to look after them. They leave the monies for you to pay for whatever service you have to administer to them, hospital, so forth, whatever, and you're not doing that. You're just leaving the person there and probably using the money for something else. Okay? Failure on the part of an in-home service provider to provide necessary care. Caregivers, you are there to provide the necessary care for the persons, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So that is also neglect, a form of abuse. Okay? Some examples: refusal or failure to provide an older person with food, water, clothing, shelter, personal hygiene, medicine, personal safety, other essential needs, either implied or agreed. Okay, so these are some of the ways you can neglect the older person. Abandonment. The desertion of an older person by an individual who has assumed responsibility for providing care and support for that individual, or by a person who has guardianship and administration responsibility for an older person. Just like I said earlier on, you are responsible for the person, but you just, when you finish doing all your work at your home, you went and talked to the neighbor, you're satisfied, then you come and you check on the person. Sometimes the whole day passed and the person has not had breakfast. So all of these things, you neglecting, you abandon the person, you're not caring for the person the way you should. The person is in the house, there feces all around the person because nobody is going to look after him or her. Okay, so that's a form of abandonment. Examples: the desertion of an older person at a hospital, a nursing care facility, or other similar institution. You drop them at Marian Home, you drop them at Villa St. Joseph, at Comfort Bay, and you turn your back. You do not go and visit, you do not bring something, so you just leave them there and you forgot that they exist. Okay? The desertion of an older person at a shopping center or other public location. An older person own report of being abandoned. The person themselves can come and say, well, I do not have a home to stay, my children turn their back on me, I have nowhere to go, and so on. So all that is forms of abandonment. Then we have emotional abuse. The infliction of anguish, pain, or distress through verbal or non-verbal actions. And we're going to explain a little bit more on that. Emotional abuse examples: verbal assault, like you cursing the person, you using obscene language to the person; threats, intimidation, humiliation, you making them feel ashamed because you know they're peeing on the bed or whatever. You know, you're saying, oh, come on, go, or they will just get pissing alone and whatnot. You know, you're making the person feel bad. Harassment, treating an older person like an infant, isolating an older person from his or her family, friends or regular activities, giving an older person the silent treatment. Okay, yesterday they made you vex. They made them vini poo. So you there, you're going about whatever the whole day and you ain't saying nothing to the person. Okay, all these forms of abuse. Then you have self-neglect. That is the person themselves. They have the means to take care of themselves, but for whatever reason, they do not do it. The behavior of an older person that threatens his or her own safety or health. Example of that: refusal or failure to provide himself or herself with adequate food, water, clothing, shelter, personal hygiene, medication, and safety precaution. Okay, so this responsibility lies on the person themselves. Okay? And then we have sexual abuse of older persons. Non-consensual sex contact of any kind with an elderly person, or sexual contact with any person incapable of giving consent. The person cannot say, yes, I am willing to, but then you force yourself on the person, or family members or friends, whoever. Okay? Sexual abuse examples: unwanted touching, all types of sexual assaults such as rape, sodomy, that is anal intercourse with the person, and any sexual expletive photographing, forcing individual towards sex acts, showing an elderly person pornography, or forcing the elderly person to undress. All of these are forms of sexual abuse. Maybe at the time that you're ready to give the person the bath, they're not ready. You understand? And you're there roughing them up. You know, and those kind of things. Maybe for whatever reason, at the time the person is not ready, you still have some time with them. So you just relax, and then you come back again and try. Financial exploitation. Elderly people do get abused that way also. Illegal or improper use of an older person's finances, property, or assets. And you hear these things happen all the time, especially the older persons who receive the public assistance. We always get complaint that this person is receiving the money and they're not using the money for the person. They're using it for whatever else. The person is not benefiting from the monies. Financial exploitation examples: cashing an older person's check without authorization or permission. Forging an older person's signature, misusing or stealing an older person's money or possessions. Forcing or deceiving an older person into signing any document, example, contracts or wills. Improper use of conservatorship, guardianship, or power of attorney. Okay, so these are all ways you can financially exploit the person. Spiritual abuse. Spiritual abuse often refers to an abuser using spiritual or religious rank in taking advantage of the victim's spirituality. So not because they're old people and so on, you know, they're still entitled to their beliefs. And then sometimes we deny them of that. Examples of spiritual abuse: unreasonable control of a person's basic right to make a choice on spiritual matters. Prevention from practicing faith. Isolation or separation from family and friends due to religious affiliation. I'm a Jehovah's Witness. The person is a Catholic. I don't believe in certain things, so I impose my belief on the elderly person. Okay? Then we have who commits elder abuse. Both men and women. Adult children, family members. The abusers come from this group more often than from any other group. That's children and family members. You also have spouses, caregivers, friends, strangers, and other people can also abuse elder persons. Who commits the abuse continue. Less than 10% abusers are unknown to their victims. Now, with this chart here, it's not a representation of the statistics for St. Lucia. It's for the United States, but it still gives you an idea of the percentage of persons who abuse elderly people. We have unknown 1%, friend 1%, service provider 3%, siblings 6%, parents 6%, other relatives 8%, other persons 9%, grandchildren 9%, spouse 15%, and adult children 14%. Okay, you can see the percentage is very high with the adult children and then spouse. All right. Why are elderly people more vulnerable to abuse? Some of the reason: social isolation. They live alone, you know, so it's easy for somebody to target them. Mental impairment. They suffer with mental illness, Alzheimer's, and so on, so they are easy target again. Caregivers stress. You have your own personal issues, and you come, and for whatever reason, you take it out on the person. Cannot fend for themselves emotionally or physically. Depend on their care provider. So these are all ways that they are vulnerable to the abuse. Warning signs of elder abuse: bruises, pressure marks, broken bones, abrasions, and burns may be an indication of physical abuse, neglect, or mistreatment. Unexplained withdrawal from normal activities. All of a sudden, they do not want to engage in anything. They'll be all quiet to themselves, and so on. A sudden change in alertness and unusual depression may be indicators of emotional abuse. Bruises around the breast or genital area can occur from sexual abuse. Sudden changes in financial situation may be result of exploitation. So when you are caring for the people that you deal with, I'm referring to you because you are the group that we're talking about, we're dealing with. You know, these are some of the things that you can look out for. Warning signs of elderly abuse continue: bed sores, unattended medical needs, poor hygiene, and unusual weight loss are indicators of possible neglect. Behaviors such as belting, threats, and other uses of power and control by spouses are indicators of verbal or emotional abuse. Strained or tense relationship, frequent arguments between the caregiver and older person are also signs. If you notice changes in personality or behavior, you should start to question what is going on. Okay? And then how can we prevent elder abuse? Educating older persons, professional caregivers, and the public on elder abuse, and that is critical to prevention. Call and visit older loved ones. Catch stress early on. Provide break to those providing care. Your parents, five of you all. One sister has the burden of taking care of the mother. So you can give the sister a break in between. On the weekend, sis, take the weekend off. I will come and care for mama. You understand? In that way, the burden doesn't become too stressful for that one person, and then they start to react in a negative way. Report any suspicions you may have. Reporting elderly abuse. Call 911 if the person is in immediate danger. Report concerns to appropriate government authorities. Call the police if necessary. Okay. And this is just a little caption. Imagine a world without elder abuse. Report elder abuse. Okay, it's just a short caption. Ideas for raising awareness. Host a workshop or conference. Submit an article or letter to the editor. Hold a poster contest. Host an event in the schools. Radio, TV, public service announcement. Wear something purple. All these are ways that we can raise awareness and let people know that elderly abuse do exist, and that we should not engage in it, and we should help to prevent it. Do your part to raise awareness. World Elderly Abuse Awareness Day is held annually on June 15th. Okay? Together we can make this, my world, your world, our world, free of elder abuse. Thank you. Any questions?
The presentation here today was for the caregivers of Beaufort North and Beaufort South. These people are caring for elderly persons, and based on the presentation, they will be able to identify the signs of abuse of the elderly, because there are various forms of abuse. Now, they themselves as caregivers, having realized that certain behaviors in the elderly, it is not really because of their fault or because they are troublesome. It is really because of the aging process, the degenerative changes that take place. So with the knowledge they have gained here, we are hoping that they will be able to treat the elderly differently.
So what about the elderly abusing you, like cursing you, insulting you? Some of them will spit on you, they'll kick you. So what you know about that?
Because you are younger, because you can understand and you recognize that they have a need, they have a disability in terms of what they are able to do and how they're able to cope, and a lot of the time it has to do with their way of coping or dealing with the situation. You would think that all your life you were able to do X, Y, and Z. And then today, somebody else has to do X, Y, and Z for you. And that's not something that is easy to understand. It's not something that is easy for you to deal with. So then you change the situation. You reverse it. Because they're coming at you with a lot of anger and hate. And sometimes it's not even anger and hate. It transcends into anger and hate. but it is mostly fear. The fear that I am at this stage and I have to accept that I am at this stage. But you don't treat them that, oh, you are at this stage and I'm going to do you exactly what you do to me. You just take it easy. Count to 5, take it easy, and start again. Because sometimes all they need is attention. And if you can kill them with the love and attention and the care, they will appreciate it. At some point, they will break down and they will appreciate that, oh, that person really cares for me or that person really loves me.
You are like, yes, what you say, like, comforting.
Not really, not comfort to the extent that, especially if the person, you recognize that the person is doing it deliberately. There are some people that I know, people come and they say how they're taking care of this elderly person, but the person is actually doing things to them so that they can go. And you get that a lot in elderly persons. When they get old, they tend to have certain people that they like. So they don't like you because you're too black. They don't like your hair short. They don't like you because you have braids. They don't like you for simple things. But the people that they like, they will try as much as possible. Oh, it's not to become people I don't like you. I like Jane. So they will do you things to get you fed up. You can leave so Jane can. That is the psychology. That is how they will work. When you meet people like that, you don't treat them. That's why I said you don't fight. You will take care of them in the best way that you could. You will continue to love them in the way that you should. And don't show them any kind of remorse. Take their remorse somewhere else. Take it when you reach at your home in your room, cry, and do what you have to do. But don't show it to them that you're upset or anything. Let them know. But if you come gently and say, you know yesterday you did something, and it was wrong, that wasn't good. And you can send them out. And once you see you start raising voice and doing all of that and displaying all of that, the attitude towards you will take a longer time before it changes.
But I said you have to raise the law. No, because everyone else might try to I love her, but actually I was resolving. Just for to understand. On what she said, at times she said like, drop her phone on her phone. You know, and a kind of conversation, she has stayed the topic, and I say that she's not senile, she knows what she's doing.
But if she says things don't correct for that, why you don't take us to that? Why do you think you're crazy? Tell me some of the things why you think that they think you're crazy. Take the conversation, engage them, so that you can actually get more out of it, to see where they're coming from. Because sometimes they may be coming from somewhere new. It's just that you don't take the time to understand. But if you take it a little further, she said to you 3 times, your phone was full, not full. You heard that for the 4th time. You should not let the 4th time slip away. When she says the 4th time, you tell her, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Why are you always saying that? Or whatever. Engage her so you can find out what will come out of it.
Yeah, but can
exactly, so which means that she doesn't get a listening air. And all of us is going to listening air no matter who you are or what stage you are. You may not want to hear it, but when the person needs to vent or to air out, allow the person that time. If it takes them 10 minutes, when you for it, if you speak for it like me, I don't speak for it. For it until you finish saying all what you want to say. And when you finish saying all what you want to say, I will ask you, is that all? And if that's all, then fine. I don't have anything to say. Then fine, because you have said your piece. This is what you wanted to say. You wanted to come out to allow, and this is what we need to allow people the opportunity to vent and let their frustrations go. Then the next day, start a new chapter, start over. But we cannot fight fire.
When the report is made and you go and you investigate, most times the person will tell you, you see that kind of thing with that money thing, I don't want to do that no more. And then we are left stranded with now, what do we do now? I think from what I know, you all are not supposed to collect the monies for the people. So then now we have to look for somebody else now to collect those monies. So even with reporting that, we have to be very mindful. If the person is somebody who does not have anybody else and is somebody just doing them a favor, you have to identify somebody else who you think would be more responsible for collecting the person's money and doing a better job. All right? Because when you come and report to us and we go and investigate and the person pull out themselves, the elderly person on the bed, they cannot go and collect the money. And once the money stays after 3 months, the money is deleted. The money is returned and the person is deleted off the list. So these are some things that you have to be mindful, but we welcome you come in and you tell us that this is happening and we investigate. We try to do it in a way where the person doesn't have to back off from collecting and doing whatever little it is they were doing.